Hi everybody, it's Martin, and in this video we're going to run through an entire turn in the game Tiny Eldritch Horror. We'll check it out right after this. We'll see you at the table. Tiny Eldritch Horror is played in 3 phases: the action phase, the encounter phase, and the mythos phase. In the action phase, each investigator may perform any 2 of the following actions in any order, but may not perform the same action twice. As an action, an investigator may move their cube from one location to another on the world map. If the investigator is in a city space with no monsters present, they can prepare to travel by acquiring a train ticket in a city connected via railway or a ship ticket in a city connected via sea route. Also in a city space with no monsters present, an investigator may attempt to acquire assets. Another action an investigator may perform is the focus action, and this will allow them to re-roll 1 die in a skill test. If the investigator is in a space with no monsters present, they can rest, and the rest action heals 1 wound. As an action, an investigator may choose to take a debt. This is going to give them access to items, but it can also have grave consequences. Finally, if the investigator is on a space with another investigator, they may choose to aid that investigator. One thing I want to clarify right before we start, I know that the setup calls for 2 cubes per investigator, but what I've done as a best practice is I've added a 3rd cube in the investigator's color, which will remain on their investigator card, and that's going to remind me that that color belongs to that investigator. Alright, let's get started with the action phase. First of all, Rachel, the lead investigator here in the red, is starting in this city space over here. And as I look at the board, it looks like she is 1 move away from an Eldritch token, and that's going to be a good thing to try to resolve in the next phase, the encounter phase, and get a clue. So I think for her first action, I'm going to move Rachel to this wilderness space, and for her second action, I'm going to say that Rachel is going to focus. All right. Now let's move on to Amanda. I see that Amanda is in a city space connected via a sea route, which is nice. So what I'm going to do, first of all, for Amanda is her first action is she is going to acquire a ship ticket. And for her second action, she is going to move up to this wilderness space right over here. And the idea is that Amanda is headed to that gate and going to attempt to close that gate. Well, defeat that monster and close that gate. Now let's focus on Jim. Jim is starting in this city space over here, and he is 1, 2, 3 spaces away from that Eldritch token over there. So I think for his first action, what we're going to do is Jim is going to acquire a rail ticket, and for his second action, he is going to move to this city over here. The idea being that on the next turn, he can use his rail ticket to move to that city for free, and then use his move action to get to the Eldritch token. Now let's focus on Carl, who, as you'll recall from game setup, is starting the game with a cursed condition. And this actually is a huge disadvantage for Carl, because he won't be able to move his cube away from that cursed condition. According to the rules, the only 2 things that can get rid of a curse are acquiring a blessed condition or receiving a wound. So he's effectively only going to be able to do 1 action per turn while in the action phase while he is cursed. So here is Carl starting over here in this city space, and we're going to try to move him closer to that gate. So this is the 1 action you'll be able to do on this turn, Carl. You are moving to this city. Now that all investigators have completed their action phase, we move on to phase 2, the encounter phase. All right, here in the encounter phase, first of all, let's take a look at Rachel. Rachel is on a space with an Eldritch token, which means we have an opportunity to do what's called an Eldritch encounter. So first of all, let's roll 1d6, and let's see which Eldritch encounter Rachel will challenge. She rolls a 5. We take a look at 5. 4 to 5. It says, Elder things have abducted members of the expedition. Test lore -1 and strength. Pass, you will solve this rumor. This means that she's going to earn a clue. If we fail, we'll take 1 wound and will be delayed. All right, let's see what happens. Rachel has to test her lore -1. So her lore is 3, which means it's actually going to be effectively 4. So let's see. If she rolls a 4, 5, or 6, she will pass the lore test. She rolls a 2, she fails the lore test, so we don't even have to move on to the strength test. She has failed this test, which means she acquires a wound. So now we're going to move Rachel's token from the focus space to the wound space over here, and she becomes delayed. All right, now let's resolve Amanda's encounter. Amanda is on a wilderness space, so let's take a look at our wilderness encounters, and we have to roll 1d6 to see which wilderness encounter she will resolve, and Amanda rolls a 4, so let's take a look here at 4. Strange comet is passing over your location. Test observation +1. Pass, decrease the value of 1 gate by 2. That sounds good. Fail, increase the value of 1 gate by 2. All right, so Amanda has to test observation +1. Amanda's observation score is 3, so effectively it becomes a 2. So if Amanda rolls 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, she passes this observation test. All right, and we get a 6. So Amanda succeeds at this observation test, and so Amanda gets to decrease the value of 1 gate by 2. So here's 1 gate, and it's currently a 4, and we're going to reduce it to 2. Now let's resolve Jim's encounter phase. Jim is on this city space over here, and we're going to roll 2d6 to find out which city encounter he's going to challenge. So he rolls an 11. Let's take a look at city encounter 11. Someone has sent you a copy of the Necronomicon. Test observation or lore. Pass, retreat, doom by 1. Fail, you suffer amnesia, you are delayed. So Jim has the option of testing either observation or lore. I'm going to assume whichever is better. So Jim's observation is 3 and his lore is 5. So definitely we're going to test observation. If he rolls a 3, 4, 5, or 6, he passes this test. Let's take a look. And he rolls a 6. So he has passed this test. His reward is to reduce doom by 1. Well, that's really good for us because doom is at 16, and we're going to get to retreat it to 17. Now let's resolve Carl's encounter. Carl is on this city space over here. Let's roll 2d6 to figure out which city encounter he's challenging. Carl rolls a 6. So let's take a look at city encounter number 6. Professor from Arkham is in need of your help. Test lore. Pass. Gain 1 spell of your choice. Fail. You are led into a trap. Take 1 wound and you are delayed. All right, so let's go ahead and test Carl's lore. It's 3. So if he rolls a 4, a 5, or a 6, then he passes the test. He rolls a 4, which means he gets the reward here. A professor from Arkham is in need of your help. You gain 1 spell of your choice. Now here's the interesting thing. Carl is also cursed, and we know from the rules that the only 2 things that can lift a curse are to gain a blessed condition or to get wounded. So the rules don't specifically state this, but I'm going to make a judgment and say that Carl will not actually be able to earn that spell because he's cursed. I'm basically going to apply the Arkham Horror card game Grim rule, where in a judgment situation, what is the worst possible thing for the players? That's what happens. So, sorry Carl, you're cursed. You don't get that spell. Now we have resolved encounters all the way around clockwise order, and we're back to the lead investigator, which means we move on from the encounters phase to the Mythos phase. In the Mythos phase, we resolve Mythos effects in this order. First, we'll take a look at the Old Ones card, and we will resolve any special Mythos phase effects found on the right side of that card. Next, we will roll 1d6 of the dice that is the color corresponding to the color of the current omen space. Then we will resolve Mythos effects printed on the corresponding space of the Mythos card. First, let's take a look at Azathoth's Mythos phase effects. It says, each time the omen moves to the green spot, advance doom by 1, unless investigators as a group spend 1 focus. Well, we're still in the first turn, so our omen is still on the green spot. There hasn't been any advance yet. So no special Mythos phase effects to resolve yet. Now we make a note of where the omen currently is and what is the color. So currently we're at green. So we take a look at the Mythos effects card, and we're looking at the green omen Mythos effects here. We have to roll 1d6 to figure out which Mythos effects apply currently. So we're going to roll that die, and we get a 5. So let's see what 5 means. 5 says this icon here means that the omen moves by 1. So it's now going to move to the black space over here. And this means that a new gate is spawned. And so currently the omen dice is on black. So we'll take the black die and we will roll that, and we get a 2. And now we have to place this die without changing the value on a space, a black space with the number 2, which is this one right here. So now a new gate has spawned in this location, and it has a gate value of 2. The final Mythos effect that we have to resolve is the advance doom by 1 unless investigators as a group take 2 wounds. Well, I don't think it's time for that now. And our doom is currently on 17, so we're just going to go ahead and advance that by 1 to 16. And we have just resolved all the Mythos effects. Well, there you have it. We've just run through one entire turn in the game Tiny Eldritch Horror. It's just 9 cards, but there is a lot of gameplay packed into a very small amount of space. Until next time, this has been Martin. Bye for now.